Recently, the French Naval Officer Corps introduced the Charles de Gaulle aircraft carrier's participation in Operation Clemenceau 25, which marks its first deployment to the Pacific Ocean since 1960. Ironically, the French aircraft carrier's entry into the Pacific to demonstrate its presence failed to attract much external attention. The reason France organized a high-profile delegation to specifically brief on the details is largely because the Charles de Gaulle's deployment lacked visibility this time, not even generating a ripple in public discourse. According to French accounts, the Charles de Gaulle encountered challenges during the process, including overflights by Russian Su-35 fighter jets and threats of fire from Yemen's Houthi armed forces, which can be described as facing real challenges. More importantly, it claimed to have faced encirclement and tracking by 40 Chinese warships. France emphasized the encounters with Chinese naval vessels, particularly the interaction with China's Shandong aircraft carrier, and highlighted that the French carrier strike group received respect, all in an effort to highlight its own sense of presence and status. The Clemenceau 25 task force's Pacific deployment was not a spur-of-the-moment move but a carefully planned operation. It also carried out various public opinion groundwork and publicity efforts, with a very clear purpose: to seek a sense of presence. It is reported that this aircraft carrier formation set sail from the port of Toulon, with the Charles de Gaulle as its core. Accompanied by one Horizon-class destroyer, 2 Fram frigates, 1 Rubis-class attack submarine, 1 offshore support ship, and 1 supply ship. Its voyage spanned the Mediterranean Sea, traversed the Suez Canal, passed through the Red Sea and the Indian Ocean, and finally entered the Western Pacific, reaching China's South China Sea waters. With a total voyage of tens of thousands of nautical miles, this marked the first appearance of a French aircraft carrier in the Asia-Pacific region since the 1960s. However, in my view, the Charles de Gaulle's deployment to the Pacific is more of a show than a move with practical significance. Its high-profile propaganda about its important commitments to allies and its national interests in the Pacific has the fundamental purpose of demonstrating its own existence. The French aircraft carrier strike group held a dual-carrier exercise with the Indian Navy in the Indian Ocean, visited the Philippines in the South China Sea, and conducted joint drills with the United States, Japan, and the Philippines, claiming to safeguard freedom of navigation. The French carrier strike group also carried out technical verification, deploying 4 data centers on the aircraft carrier for the first time to enhance battlefield data processing capabilities. French media even used the headline 42,000 tons of diplomacy in an attempt to showcase France's global influence through the Charles de Gaulle. A British aircraft carrier has also formed a fleet and sailed to the Pacific region, seeking to assert its presence here at a time when U.S. aircraft carriers are absent. In fact, France currently has relatively low global visibility but has long sought to elevate its status. For example, in Europe, France has always aspired to take on the role of a leader. This is why it has adopted a tough stance toward Russia on the Ukraine crisis and pursued independence and autonomy in Europe, seeking to break free from dependence on the United States. The actions of the French aircraft carrier this time are an attempt to showcase its ambition to play a prominent role on the world stage. According to French accounts, the Charles de Gaulle carrier strike group was tracked by a Chinese Type 054A frigate even before entering the South China Sea. And France claims that this signifies China's high attention to the French carrier strike group, underscoring the strength of the French fleet. French sources further stated that the carrier strike group encountered 40 Chinese warships during its operations and also came across China's Shandong aircraft carrier in the South China Sea. The French Navy proudly claims that despite encountering 40 PLA warships, they received no warning signals from China. France emphasized that Chinese naval vessels did not conduct radio-driven expulsion. Instead, they only implemented gentle monitoring through their massive presence. France interpreted this as a special courtesy, claiming that China's respect for France far exceeds that for the United States, and that this constitutes recognition of their strength. A French admiral even emphasized at a debriefing meeting that it was the powerful deterrence of the Charles de Gaulle that avoided conflict. France also highly publicized the claim that when the Charles de Gaulle carrier battle group encountered the Shandong, it was fully prepared for any combat, yet the Chinese aircraft carrier took no action against it. A French officer speculated that China's differentiated treatment of the U.S. and France implies that China still regards France as an independent major power. The French Navy stated that it ultimately abandoned its original plan to sail through the Taiwan Strait, with the French side casually dismissing the move as meaningless. It can be said that France approached this briefing with a particular mindset. The Charles de Gaulle is already a veteran in extended service. While the new generation Pang aircraft carrier is scheduled to start construction in 2025, it will not be able to take over until 2038. This 75,000-ton nuclear-powered behemoth, equipped with electromagnetic catapults, will cost €5 billion but faces a fatal shortcoming. Its carrier-based aircraft will still be the fourth-and-a-half-generation Rafale EM. While China and the US have already entered the sixth-generation fighter jet race, France has not even launched a fifth-generation carrier-based aircraft program. In fact, the situation is clearly not as the French Navy claims. China's newly commissioned warships in 2025 are expected to have a total tonnage of 330,000 tons, equivalent to the entire active strength of the French Navy. In my view, China's calmness stems from strategic confidence rooted in absolute strength superiority. After all, a navy that can build new warships in a single year equal to France's entire naval inventory no longer needs to prove its existence through expulsion operations.